Great to talk to you again, AJ. How are you doing?
Glad to meet you again. And happy to continue our discussion.
Beautiful. So I think I share with you that in West Athena, we're transforming how CPG manufacturers are taking pricing and trade promotion decisions with the help of AI. And with this, we're helping them improve and have better results in terms of pricing, in terms of revenue and margin. But our vision goes further. Our vision as well, we have a commitment to generate and to share knowledge of RGM around Mexico, Latin America, and the world. Let's talk about the main thing that brought us here, which is RGM. You have an impressive role. You have worked in different countries. You have worked with people around the world in global teams. In this leading role that you have in the end-to-end RGM delivery, what have been some of the key challenges in aligning people from different countries, local businesses, local teams to really unlock the growth potential of the RGM area?
On this one, so that's very well put, because if you look at when it comes down to delivery of RGM as a product, as well as taking this capability to the markets, this is led, let's say the initiative comes from the global, then let's say it is delivered at the local level. While what happens is that the first thing what you have to penetrate really well is the mindset of the people when it comes down to embracing the change. So this is really a kind of the first thing which we have to agree upon among the local stakeholders as well as the global stakeholders. Across, we see that because there is sometimes resistance, what local nuances, what they are, while what would be the global learning. So global learnings would like to be will be driven by some insights and would be based upon archetypes of the markets, what they want to deliver upon. But local markets are having whatever you might say that there would be nuances which are very specific to the local markets as well. So overall, the first thing is that aligning on the right mindset, getting the things done in terms of, let's say, the relevant stakeholders are on sync. First of all, that this is the tool or this is the capabilities which will give us, let's say, the desired outcomes based upon whatever the KPIs you have set in. And the second point which I would say is that it's regarding the common North Star kind of a, let's say, let's imagine that if you are there, and what is the North Star you will be looking at together. So that's like the one particular KPI if you will have to see, which is more sort of what we are there in global team as well as local team is to drive what value creation we are generating. Your value can be defined by either it's a quantitative or qualitative, while tangible or intangible value, for example. So in terms of, let's say, the tangible value, it comes down to the P&L. It comes down to that what sort of let's say the marketing strategies or let's say the promotional or pricing strategies you'll be implementing. So all those things, if you are trying to look forward to optimize those kind of your plannings or like that or execution, that's where I think so that we will have to kind of align with these alignments are very well if they are very well defined at the start of the particular deployment of the projects, especially in the RGM, then the things becomes more easier. That's what I've seen in last couple of years across couple of markets where RGM has been deployed.
There's a big challenge in translating these business requests and these business questions into IT and data conversations. So how do you collaborate with the IT people and the data teams to ensure that the business stakeholders, they have the right tools and that those tools are generating the right insights to make business decisions for pricing and promotions?
This is something, when it comes down to, as you mentioned, that there are teams with set KPIs, whether it's a brand team, trade marketing, or you will take the finance, all team has their, let's say, requirements based upon, let's say, the execution points, what they're looking upon. Now, when it comes down to transforming them, this particular, their ask and to give them some tangible solutions out there, IT and data, this both teams plays a really crucial role. Why? Because they cannot be like sitting in a way that they are working in silos. They need to collaborate together. Really, they have to function well. The thing is, because the first thing what you require is clear ways of working and roles and responsibilities among these two teams, especially when it comes down to data where the data team will be working on procuring the data, getting in touch with the external stakeholders, making sure that the data ETLs, pipelines, everything is well placed, while IT is some sort of a, not just IT in terms of that getting the systems up and running, but the more sort of also that the IT should come up with that business kind of acumen as well, so that they are able to collect all these requests, what it comes down to, translate it down, that what data is required, getting that all the KPIs what are met by whatever the target team would be that for which you are building up your solution is for. It is more or less there has to be a translation happening between that business side of the things, data side of the things, and making sure that those two can connect with one another. And I believe that that is what something IT comes into the play as well, and with their business acumen, with their data side of the things very well, then they are able to kind of to cater to a solution which is more meeting the demands of the market or the respective function, as well as getting the right data on the right time, and making sure also that this data, it's not just a one-time affair. Yeah, it will be like happening that you will be requiring refresh of the data. You will need to kind of put that service placement and the feedback mechanism in place. That's where IT and data teams play a really crucial role.
There are some markets and some regions that they have similarities where you can try to replicate some of the things. There are some other markets that are very specific, but at the end, you need to have the capability of identifying business opportunities across the different regions and across the different categories, regardless of which market and which region they are, to have a holistic view of the whole business, Now, what are some of those key data challenges that you have encountered when trying to create this holistic view, across the different regions and across the different markets?
Let's put it on an analogy. Yeah? So the moment you are on the west side and you start moving across east, across the world, you will see that the data availability, the data granularity, and especially the data quality tend to take a toll. So for example, comparing markets like US with market would, for example, India, Philippines, or something like that, the data availability, the data quality, and these all parameters, what is required to get the relevant insights, and how granular and how focused your insights can be, take a bit of a toll when you go into, when the data availability in terms of that expectations of your KPIs, what you want to try to track. If the data is not available, then unfortunately you cannot make it. So let's say if a tool is deployed which is able to provide like 15 to 20 different insights on particular, let's say, given time to that user, let's say based out of US, might be those capabilities would be hindered because of lack of data availability. Most probably, for example, in India, they might be able to do like 4 or 5 things, but then it's all about then the data availability plays a really critical role. And I believe that having, first of all, data is also divided into 2 factors. Yeah, it's 2 segments, I would say. It's not just that your external data, which generally we focus upon, okay, you have your sellout data, this data, but also your internal data practices also should be really accurate, because some of the data what we work in RGM space is more what we track internally. It's a bit sensitive data. And that's where the things is that if those are having proper data governance in place, proper master data management in place, so then procuring at least that data or doing some analytics or doing some sort of, let's say, RGM kind of techniques what we apply on pricing and promotions would become more easier to start up with. Maybe even if the data from the external providers is not very like the data quality or the data granularity won't be available, but at least I believe that that's the first point which any company could start up with, having internal practices sorted. Then definitely what the market has to offer, then what the customer has to offer in terms of the data, that is something can add as an additional point. So I think so it depends upon which market it is and this, but still we have archetypes across the markets, which makes things more easier, because for example, you have your developing markets, you have your emerging markets, then you have let's say what we call like different segmentation based upon the BUs what you might have. So I think so that it's just a matter of, let's say, what internal and external you're able to find, and try to make that the tool is adaptable to it. And then whatever the insights we are planning to get, at least the most necessary insights we are planning to get out of RGM as a product is definitely able to deliver.
Interesting. You mentioned that RGM, let's say that we can say that it's a product, it's a product that is filled with insights. Those insights could be descriptive, could be predictive, but also you need to have the capability to develop prescriptive insights that can help the business people take decisions. So in your opinion, what is what steps do you take to ensure that this product or the data inside this product that is used by the RGM team is accurate, is relevant, and that is really solving the particular problems and challenges that all of the markets are dealing with?
So when it comes down to the data accuracy, it starts from, let's say, the initiative to be taken, because the data what you're using comes from not just one source. You'll be using it, let's say the first data set what you will be using is the external data providers. So you need to have firm agreements in place, you need to have proper KPIs in place, the proper granularity of the data you require, your prerequisites what you need to make for the data, let's say you would be requesting to the external stakeholders, with the kind of quality KPIs, which is really critical. Because what happens is that you might be just procuring the data, but then if it is not well refined to, let's say, the nuances of that particular category or that particular market. So let's say nuances do not have at a particular market level. Market level has their nuances, but you have to go deeper down. You have to go for category, brand level, then what is your segment levels you might be interested in. You need to get those particular things cleaned up really well from the external data providers. Yeah, it might take initial effort. Yes, it will. Definitely, it's a battle uphill when it comes down to make sure that you get those particular data set in the required formats, because you are, as we discussed, it's a product, and then it requires also maintenance. It's not that you do once in a year and then you can get that particular, let's say, from that standpoint of view what is happening. But if you want to have it more predictive and prescriptive kind of a factor involved, you would like to have it, let's say, refreshed every month or bi-monthly, whatever your kind of refresh appetite is. But then you will have to have that thing going on. So the first thing, it starts with proper, let's say, the hygiene and quality in place. Let's say that with the external stakeholders, you have proper data accuracy and KPIs set with them. Secondly, very critical, as we also touch base upon this about MDM, for example, it's to do with the in-house governance as well. So the moment you have a very good in-house data governance for all the relevant data you will be using in this particular product, then it makes things more easier to integrate, not just for this particular piece of the work what you might be doing for RGM pricing promo, but then it will also be relevant for the other products or sub products what you might be developing beyond that as well. So as a standard, I would say that it's a twofold, and accuracy and kind of quality is a kind of, like, this is what you will be striving for. Because what's the use of a tool or a product or whatever you might be developing if the insights what it's going to throw at you is something random and you don't agree in that. And trust is a very kind of a thing which comes because people are already cynical. It's if you do it once, twice or thrice, if it's gone, your product is no longer kind of relevant, at least for that user. So then you might come and tweak and this and that. So it's like been you can say a couple of, let's say, back and forth with the global and local, and that's where the friction starts in, and then the trust goes away, and then the utility or the kind of what we call the value you're supposed to drive from that particular tool product, it's no longer kind of visible, and then it's not executable as well further and not scalable. So I think so this is all in terms of this data part. My 2 cents on that.
Now you talk about developing and creating insights, and more recently with the help of predictive analytics and AI-based solutions. So could you share with us any insights into how are you integrating these predictive analytics or AI-based tools into your pricing and your trade promotion strategies to identify growth opportunities?
Now the time is, especially, it's more about predictive and prescriptive analytics. So when it comes down to that down the road, what you're looking specifically at is that, let's say you are standing at this particular juncture of the year, you have, let's say, your next 3 months or next 6 months, you would like to do some tweaks. You have seen that, okay, your past, let's say, your promo strategy you are planning to work on, that particular, let's say, segment of your business is not delivering well. Now you are still at the middle of the year. You have then couple of, I know that it would be really tough to negotiate with the retailer, but let's say in an ideal world scenario, if you would like to say simulate some scenarios, that how do we see that if we do this change variable means this X variable or Y particular variable, we do some changes on that based upon this particular factors, what happens to the dynamics of that particular segment? How well our market share, let's say what it is, whether it's dwindling or it's increasing, how is in terms of the percentage of the volume shares, what we will be seeing it, the amount of units you are sourcing or kind of that. So how does that works out versus within yourself, within the category, within the competitors? So at least that kind of predictions what you're trying to do, so that this is where the things are moving now, especially in the RGM space. And I think that more or less, if the CPGs, whosoever right now is working with RGMX, somehow they are getting in touch with this predictive and prescriptive kind of analytics as well, which definitely is driving for them a significant amount of value and the time savings, what they might be doing some manually, it's now semi-automated or completely automated on this side of things.
Looking ahead, what do you think will be the biggest trends in RGM? Particularly in how businesses and companies will leverage technology and data to drive growth and in very competitive markets.
2022 was the year when it started, this particular AI boom, when we saw this chat GPT coming in, and the buzzword it became across most of the, look at how traction it received in terms of, let's say, most of those companies, whether they were into that space or not, they were mentioning AI in their balance sheets. And it took a really kind of a turn wherein people were taken by and people were really having that, you might see that sci-fi movies or kind of, and you would see that AI trend is coming, but then it was a reality. And that's where I see that the Gen AI is the thing which has to play which will play a very critical role in coming time as well, especially when we talk about our RGM space as well. The reason being, you will have to take into consideration the couple of points when it comes down to that, how usable. So definitely it will play a part, but then how it can play a part, that is something can be addressed via 3 particular points. So the first thing is that whether the application you want to apply for, is it the right field? Is it the right kind of a fit for your particular kind of requirements? So setting that expectations right. Second thing is, from the current state, what optimizations you are doing in terms of the cost savings, time savings, or whatever the factors you might be looking at in terms of your making sure that your strategies, what you want to implement, are pretty much driving those insights, are accurate or like that. So taking first the application part, second more sort of what optimizations it can bring from the current state, and the third more critical part, what I see is that how well do you implement Gen AI and how scalable and sustainable it will be. If you are able to take this particular approaches with this new Gen AI, which we are seeing, and it's developing at a very kind of exponential phase as well. But then how does it comes into RGM? Then these are the key factors which I think that one must consider. And this is where we'll have to leverage technology, which anyways will come in. It doesn't comes at a cost that people might be afraid that it comes down to our individual. So in it, what our capabilities will be there as a individual, for sure, they are not going away. But this is kind of an add-on to the particular kind of a point of view or the things you would like to kind of see. That perspective can come by delegating this task to some sort of a Gen AI solutions, which are more sustainable and scalable. So I think so, yeah, I can put it that way.
Very good, Ajay. Well, I have to thank you for this conversation. I think it was very interesting. I think the last question, I love it. I think it gives a lot of perspective on what and how the RGM teams today need to be focusing on. So I really appreciate it, AJ.